the sequel anthology is chronological in order. I use the birth year of the poet. Yeah, it is not thematic in arrangement. So that was the difficult part of the anthology. Yeah, how to reduce it. As a matter of fact, it's already 2 volumes. Yeah, the other books before this are only 1 volume. Yeah. Oh, let's see now. Some of them will say that poetry is a special kind of using the language. Yeah. Some of them will say, well, it's something like a puzzle or a riddle. Usually, those are the readers who don't particularly go for poetry. Yeah. So that's what they usually say. No? It's a special usage of the language. Yeah. As a student, I was an English major. I was majoring in literature, no, in English. Yeah, and I noticed when I was a student that there were anthologies of literature, English literature and American literature, and it would be an anthology that will cover the entire period of their poetry, from Old English to Middle English to Modern English, the Romantic period, the Victorian age, and so forth, historical. No? And later on, after graduation, it occurred to me that we don't have such an anthology. We don't have a historical anthology of our literature in English. So that's what started me. No, that was in 1973. Matagal na. This is the latest only. I think pretty well, if I may say so, because it's the only anthology you have in our country. The entire range of our poetry from the turn of the century, 1900, to the present. It's the only anthology. Well, a number of them are my friends. No? So it was easy enough to make a choice, for example, about their poem. But the others, I had to depend on, first, I had to depend on their published works. Now that means either they have put out their own poems as a book, or they don't have a book of poems. No? So I will have to go to the outlets of literary works in our country. I also wrote to them. Because some of them are in the States, some in Singapore, some in Canada, and so forth. And so I asked them. I asked them for their own choice poems. Yeah, so that lightens my load of choosing, because these are their own favorite poems. No, but some of them don't. No, no, so it's up to me. No, yeah. Quite a number of them are my friends, either close or we know each other. Yeah. I would encourage them to ask me. You already have, in poetry, you already have 4 volumes. If I count this one as only 1 volume, you have 4 volumes of our poetry in English, from the beginning to the present. You know, what I want them to ask me is, what is your idea of what a poem is? So we can begin there. I wish they'll ask me that question. Then they will know. Then they will know what work I had to do. And what is the work that I had to do? When I choose a poem. Well, I go by my own idea of poetry, and I tell myself, first, you must understand the language of the poem. In other words, you yourself must be a cultivator of language. You're sensitive to language, you yourself as anthologist. Because the poem is work of language. The poet works the language like the farmer works the soil to produce his crop. Ganyan ang poetry. But it's not only work of language, it's also work of imagination. Why? Because the subject of any poem is a human experience. So what? Well, if the subject of the poem is a human experience, then the poet has to imagine that experience well. Kasi that's what the poem will represent, a human experience. So, you, poet, you imagine that experience well before you write it. Your imagination is your spirit guide when you write. That's what I want the reader to know. What I think a poem is. So, they will also have an idea what work I had to do putting together an anthology. Okay? Yeah. If it is poetry or fiction, or short story, novel, drama, I think they start with reading. With reading. Your love for language, any language, whether it's English or Filipino, it starts with reading. That's why talking about our Philippine situation, I think we're not so much a reading people. And we cannot blame most of our countrymen because of poverty. They cannot even go to school, and you cannot expect the family to have books. Priority is food. So that's why we are not reading people, and we better do something about that. Yeah, we want to promote the national language. How can I love my national language if I don't read in it? I will have no appreciation of any language because I'm not a reader. Ganon is so important. Yeah, the love of reading. Yeah.